Alright, good afternoon and welcome back as we continue to move through our Guild Wars 2 personal story playthrough. We are currently in the midst of Entanglement, which is the second chapter of Season 2. So we've completed the core story, we've completed Season 1, and now on Season 2, trying to find out the nature of the... not the nature, just how far is Mordremoth's influence expanding, I guess, is what we're taking a look at right now. So we were last in Concordia, and we discovered that certainly the influence has expanded that far, pretty much destroyed Concordia. In fact, we helped evacuate it, right? So now here we are at Fort Salma, looking to see what is happening here. And this is significant. We see vines even as we approach, but we see Seraph still occupying. In fact, there's Seraph Belinda Delacroix. So this is significant to us because Belinda is the sister of Marjorie, who is part of our little crew. So we're gonna find out what's going on here and hopefully come to their aid if that is in fact what they're in need of. Oh, well, that was wasted.
Time to do some real damage.
So I probably actually moved down there too fast. And that's so what that resulted in is them being invulnerable for longer than they normally would be because of the dialogue, and that's why one of the Seraph died. There is actually, I believe, an achievement for those Seraph.
Another personal victory.
Oh, well, looks like we got it anyway. Weird.
Sweet, sweet loot. Jory.
You never know with achievements, man. They...
Belinda and the Seraph are holding
sometimes I'm
the
lost
for
on
now.
this.
There seems to be no end to these attacks.
We should take the stragglers that make it past the Seraph. The creatures keep coming, both over and under the walls.
Good thinking. I'm determined to hold out until they stop.
Me too. A Seraph told me they've got great obelisk shards here, from the Tower of Nightmares. They're too valuable to let fall into the wrong hands.
Get ready, everyone. Here comes another wave.
Sis, the eastern gate is getting hit hard. Can you get over there?
Oh, the Eastern Gate.
You betcha. We can use the northern
So, there's a reference there to them holding crate obelisk shards here. As far as I recall, that doesn't, like, pop up again. Like, it may be the justification for why Mordremoth is, or, you know, his minions and his vines and so forth are hitting this position, but I don't recall that being something that, like, you know, that we're going to care about an hour from now. Where we're trying to get over here is there's that arrow cart there. So another example of them including like world versus world mechanics into the personal story, which I'm always a fan of. And in this case, you know, this arrow cart is going to allow us to do a lot more damage than individually I'm going to do.
Arrow cart.
You don't?
I must have skipped out the date we covered siege warfare between my etiquette and
Stupid.
dance classes.
Poor Casimir doesn't know how to operate an arrow cart. It's really easy, Casimir. You just push F and then, you know, 1, 2, or 3, depending on what you're trying to achieve. Oh, Casimir.
Feel the fury.
So this is typical of, like, this kind of thing when they set this up where, you know, as we're doing whatever, like, we're getting attacked because the NPCs, for whatever reason, are, like, incapable of actually offering us any protection. Kind of an annoying, like, weird little thing. I mean, like, I get it. You don't want overpowered NPCs, but at the same time,
The courtyard is secure for now.
that's a weird
Seems
thing.
our luck is holding.
Hold on. Do you hear that? What is...
Of course, they couldn't just let us rest. That sounds big.
Oh dear.
Does sound big.
It's massive. What's our strategy?
It's
The bigger
massive.
they
Thank you.
are, the
Thank you,
harder
Casimir.
they fall. I'm guessing if we take out King Monstrosity, the grunts will give up.
Alright. Let's do it then. King Monstrosity. That's a thing, I guess. Alright, so what we're barely catching there in the dialogue is that this thing right here, this Bone Fiend, that has been summoned by Marjorie, and it's going to bring down the defenses of this guy, this Mordremoth Thrasher. So what we want to do is wait till it explodes and then jump in there. Okay, so here goes. Bam. And now we're going to do as much damage as we possibly can before the shield comes back up. There we go. That's a weird name. Weird name. I guess it's a reference to Casimir, butterflies, Mesmer, Viscera, Marjorie, Necromancer. We did not lose any of Marjorie's minions. Good for us. I'm proud of us. We did a great job. Okay, so we took down like the boss thing here, presumably putting a stop for the most part to the attack here on Fort Salma. So now we need to regroup with the Seraph inside and kind of assess the extent of the damage and find out what's going on. We can see the damage here is pretty extensive. We're
here, Jory.
I know.
Tell us what you need.
I'm okay. I just needed a minute. I'm sorry.
I understand. Completely.
I can't lose control here. If you're too sweet to me, I'll fall apart.
Okay. Okay,
well, that's
we
weird.
have a lot of work to do.
Okay.
Right. I have to get her ready. Take her home. I have to tell Mama.
We'll do it all together.
I don't know if that's the best way. I think we need to talk. Cass, honey, I want you to go with them.
What? No, I can't. My place is with you. What if you need me?
I'll be okay. Our friends need you more. You have to keep them safe. I'll be with family. I'll catch up when I can.
No, Jory. It doesn't feel right. This terrible... Your sister... I should be with you.
I love you for that. But no. You should be with them. We're talking about a dragon. The dragon that killed Belinda.
I don't like it.
I hear what you're saying, love. This is how it has to be. We have greater responsibilities. What do you think?
I'll go, but not tonight. Tonight I'm staying with you. I'll leave tomorrow when you do.
This is the best way. You'll see.
I hope you're right.
Alright, I don't know if it's the best way or not. I'm not in a position to decide. That's not my place to decide. Okay. So, as we can see here, just in case there's any confusion, this right here, Belinda, Marjorie's sister, dead as a doornail. And so now we see, like, Marjorie, whether it's because she's just so distraught or because it's actually the right decision, whatever the case may be, she's going to kind of create some distance between her and Casimir. So this is kind of part of the relationship thing, and I appreciate that ArenaNet, because naturally this relationship is going to draw a lot of attention, and some people are going to have opinions one way, and some people are going to have opinions another. And one thing that I think ArenaNet did pretty well is I don't feel most of the time that they were overbearing or preachy with any of this. Like, they just allowed the relationship to exist within the story. I really do believe that. I think this is an example of it. Like, whether you think it's realistic or unrealistic, or whether regardless of where you're at on this whole thing with Casimir and Marjorie, that bit of dialogue there is acceptable within the constraints of the story they've told and the event that's just taken place, and it lends gravitas to Belinda's death. Belinda's death for me is not like an egregiously bad one where it feels hokey. Like, we'll get to another death later that is like really significant, and it does not feel for me as genuine or sincere as the response to this one. So I've always felt like Belinda's death was pretty well done, all the way up to like not that the graphics are amazing. They've improved over time. They've done a little bit better job of like kind of generating the appearance of what they're looking for with like those cutscenes and stuff. But Casimir's shocked face, and then Marjorie walks up and realizes what she's looking at and all that. Like, overall, I feel like they did a pretty good job with this. There's some things that they did after the fact which we don't get the benefit of right now, where a period of time after this story was released, there was a particular weapon that became available in the gem store. I doubt it's available right now. All right, yeah, it doesn't appear to be right now, but Belinda's greatsword, so her particular weapon that she wielded, was then available to purchase in the gem store, and there's some more to that. Like, it's going to come a little bit later, and it's going to come a little bit later because there's another thing that needs to happen before it kind of fully manifests. But all these things kind of lended to this part of the story, and overall, pretty. Can I not talk to either one of them? Why is that an option if it's not a thing? I do feel like this plays out as a relatively significant moment within Season 2. Even if ArenaNet's storytelling chops aren't necessarily like particularly impressive in any way. They didn't do such a bad job of it that's like notable in some way. Like, oh, that's just an atrocity of storytelling. I don't feel like that's the case at all. And as I said before, like I tend to be a little bit snarky about the story in general, but truthfully, I think Season 2 kind of ends up playing out as one of their better storytelling efforts. When you take a step back and you look at everything in its entirety, I put Season 2 kind of right there with like the first 2/3 of Icebrood Saga as kind of some of their stronger storytelling. Whereas I would have like portions of Season 3 probably as, and maybe even portions of Path of Fire as some of their weakest. Alright, so what is happening for us now then within the story? So Casimir is going to rejoin us, but Marjorie has to take care of this, right? This has impact on her. Why am I running? Why we don't need to run there. Where are we going? Marjorie's got to take care of this from a family perspective, right? When a family member dies, there are things that need to be addressed, right? And so that's what Marjorie is going to go do, at least for the time being. Is she lost for us forever? She is not. Is she lost to us for now? She is, in fact. So let's link up with the rest of the crew, then. And in fact, what it says, join your friends to check in on Timey. Yeah, so remember, while all this is going on, the whole Concordia thing with Rox and Bram, the Fort Salma thing with Casimir and Marjorie, and we see what happened to Belinda and all that. All this stuff is going on. Remember, like, Taimi's by herself here. Like, whereas before, when we left her by herself in like the little house, that didn't feel like super egregious because it was in a town and it was a house, and like, all right, I can kind of get on board with that. But now we're just gonna leave Taimi like in what appears to be like a pretty dangerous place, and I'm not, like that. Yeah, I mean, I don't have like sympathy for Taimi. I'm not concerned about her. It's just, is this like an indictment on the commander? I mean, we just leaving kids in like dangerous areas and all kinds of nonsense. Commander's a real piece of trash. Honestly, I've said that numerous times, and I stand by it. I'll say it again, and again, and again. Commander's a piece of trash. And that's kind of not very satisfying, right? To like, when your player character is like kind of made out to be, there are plenty of games where that's within your control to some degree. You can at least, have some sense of agency in terms of just how big of a piece of trash you are. And I think, more commonly with like one-player games, right? I think back like an incredible example. It's an old game. I don't know that it holds up now, but Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic really gave you like a massive sense of agency. There was just so much where you could completely go like dark side or completely go light side or whatever. I thought that was an extraordinary game at the time. Really, really amazing when it first came out. And even like, to this day, like Cyberpunk 2077 and stuff like gives you a degree of control over, who you are and are not going to shoot in the face. But because an MMORPG, the focus isn't necessarily having a branching personal story like that. We just kind of have to live with the fact that the commander's kind of a piece of trash. Alright, so what is this? We did not come in here before. Oh, are we going to get it a second time? Because I turned around and walked the other direction. Nice. Thanks for that, ArenaNet. And I'm sure we'll get it a third time. So remember, we were down there before. We had not come in here before. Oh, we get it a third time.
Marjorie all right? Did something happen?
Her sister, Belinda, was killed at Fort Selma.
Incredible.
Marjorie went home to be with her family and to mourn.
Oh no, that's terrible. But wait, why are you here? Shouldn't you be with her?
I wanted to go with her, but she asked me to see this mission through. She's safe, at least, with family.
How's she holding up?
Oh, she puts on a strong face, but I see right through it. I can see that she's hurting and that she blames herself. She promised she'd join us as soon as she can.
Poor Marjorie.
I'm so sorry, Casimir.
Sorry, my friend.
Let me catch you up on what I've learned so far.
Yes, let's do that. Let's go ahead and get to business. No point in really dwelling on everyone's sadness here. So this was Scarlett's first ley line, so that is significant, right? Because this was, in her grand hunt for the ley lines, which ultimately she turned into an obsession, and it was the focus of the big thing that she was doing. This is where it very first got started in terms of her actually identifying one. We see some of that ley energy here, like kind of doing all kinds of weird things. It's a hub where multiple lines converge, but still tiny compared to the one in Lion's Arch. Okay. Weird that Lion's Arch would have like the giant one. It's convenient for storytelling purposes, but depending on how you, so even outside of the game, like the whole like Ancient Aliens ley line thing, and like some like the New Age stuff, and kind of the idea is that where ley lines converge would be places of significance for people anyway, and that some like ancient significant cities might have been built over them and stuff like that. So the idea that Lion's Arch might have been built over one isn't all that crazy within like kind of the greater scheme here. So miners dug here. We remember that from Miner Tosca or whatever her name was talking about digging here, hitting this pocket. And Scarlet found out about it. These machines let us see the magic that is usually invisible. Oh, so that's interesting that we have an explanation here for why you can see leyline magic when going forward in the game. Heart of Thorns all the way up through like Ends of Dragons. Leyline magic is simply visible. But okay, that's fine. What does the research add up to? Had she not lost her mind, she'd be heralded. Okay, well, yeah, but she did, so whatever, timing. Yeah, less interested in her past and her future. There's a disturbance in the ley lines, and it's affecting certain waypoints. Scarlet was right. When we sort of placed waypoints, some work better than others, so we got rid of the ones that didn't work and kept the ones that did. They work better when placed on a ley line. Okay, that makes sense. Like that's, I got no problems here within like the physics or whatever of this world that Arena has created here within Tyria. Like all this works fine with the rules of the world they've created. So what's messing up the? However, I do think that they, we're about to step into something that I wish they hadn't done. However, so I'm good with like everything that Timey said thus far, but making waypoints a part of the lore versus simply a mechanism within the game to get from like point A to point B is like a really weird play, right? Generally, I think in most games like fast travel is cosmetically, like there's some explanation for it or whatever, but generally like they try and keep that outside the lore because it's kind of weird. So this all right, so the vines, they're attracted to the resonance of the waypoints. Okay, it's my belief that these vines we're seeing coming directly from the dragon. So the dragon is literally spreading out across Tyria. So the dragons are supposed to be immense. So I guess we can kind of, like when all is said and done, and I think this has more to do with the technology of the game than it does with like any intentional like lore device. Zaitan ends up kind of being the smallest one. Arguably, maybe Suwon. We're a long ways off from that, though. So, all right, it's not just corruption; it's him and the free-moving one above grounds. They're corrupted and spreading. But our primary concern is the waypoint situation. Is it? I mean, I guess because in order to fight the dragon, like we need to be able to get around.
I can build a device that will make the waypoints more efficient. They'll be less attractive to Mordremoth.
What do you need us to do?
At the moment, nothing. I have the matter well in hand, but there is something else. Something so amazing. Want to see? Follow me.
So again, I've said it so many times, whether or not I like Timey as a character, and I don't, her voice actor is fantastic.
Hey, look! Can you believe your eyes?
What is it?
It's Omadd's machine, you simpleton.
Hey, respect.
Sorry, but it's the very device that showed Scarlet the eternal alchemy. It still works.
Can I smash it? That thing's gotta be dangerous.
Absolutely not. Think about what we can learn. Besides, my mind is far more resilient than Scarlet's was.
I don't think you should mess with it. I'm inclined to agree with Bram. What do you think?
What do I think? Well, so before I answer Casimir, let's take a... Oh, serious? I can't get any closer than that? So here we have, like, Omadd's machine within there, presumably whatever's causing that pillar of blue light. And remember, so Omadd, essentially, Scarlet was Omadd's assistant, and we have varying, like, almost conflicting kind of stuff within the game as to whether he tested the machine on Scarlet, or she used his machine, maybe even without his consent, to see the eternal alchemy. Either way, the machine removes the mind's natural barriers, thus exposing it to the true nature of the eternal alchemy. And as I mentioned, like way back when I was doing like core story playthrough, there's, or actually, you know what, it was season 1, I think. But when I mentioned it, either way, there are various like philosophies and religions and perspectives on like the nature of the world within Tyria, and they cannot, in fact, however contradictory they may seem, they cannot in fact conflict with each other because they're established as true. They're known to be true. So one of those is the eternal alchemy, which is kind of the Asuran perspective of how all things are interrelated and all things interact. And presumably that would by nature have to include like the Norn spirits and the human gods and stuff like that, and the elder dragons. So this machine would allow you to then perceive that whatever it is at Scarlet, and when she used the machine, she was Ciara, and then she became Scarlet. After she went bananas from seeing whatever she saw, what she saw, like I said, made her bananas. There was something about the true nature of the eternal alchemy that she just couldn't handle, or alternatively, she learned something about the true nature of the eternal alchemy that didn't make her crazy, just made her appear crazy because she no longer had the inhibitions and restrictions, and she didn't perceive the world the same as anyone else. You could go that direction with it too. So, do I think it's a good idea for timing to look at it? I do not. If this device, Scarlet portaled here from Omadd, if this is the device, if it's Omadd's machine, then it's got to be dangerous. Looks like Scarlet added to it some of the parts. Well, I don't know how we can see that from way back here with Timmy standing in our way, but okay. So the machine has been modified by Scarlet. That makes me even more nervous. Is it powered up? Well, it's got blue pillar above it, so I think so. Timmy said it was designed to affect the mind, to open it to new awareness. When Scarlet got into it, she claimed she saw what the Asura call the eternal alchemy. It broke Scarlet's mind. Okay, again, did it break her mind? Or did she simply have an understanding that we don't have because we have not looked, we have not seen the eternal alchemy like that? Like, I'm very open to that perception of this whole story arc. Regardless, she was never the same again. Committed her first murder after using it, that being Omadd. And it escalated quickly after that. Yeah, started her on a dark path. Can't let Timmy go near it. I'm inclined to agree, but Timmy is going to go near it anyway.
Don't touch anything. We don't know what... Timey!
Can't get close. That thing is shooting off too much lightning.
I'll shield you. Get her out of there.
Oh, I'm coming, Timmy.
Let's rumble.
And so now we will experience the machine instead of Timmy.
Hey, you okay? I think she's dead.
What? No. She's alive.
Tell us everything. What
Am I
did you
dead?
see?
Are you
Or I'm
alright?
alive?
Once it had you, we were afraid to just yank you out.
Well, then you started screaming and we had no choice.
How do you feel? When you're ready to talk, we're ready to listen.
All right. How do I feel? So we get that whole vision, right? And a lot of it's kind of like pseudo metaphysical gobbledygook, like symbols and stuff. But we get like basically and I don't know why it was like absurdly quiet. Effects. I guess maybe the effects volume. Maybe maybe those cutscenes are considered an effect. It's really weird. It should not have been that quiet. Because it shouldn't be considered an effect. And other cutscenes are fine on volume. I have no idea what that's about. So then we get to the 6 orbs around a center, right? Now that closely parallels like the schematic that we saw on Scarlet's wall. So I think we should perceive that we have seen what she sketched in that schematic, right? It was incredible. I loved it. It was amazing. I saw the eternal alchemy. I saw it. I saw how Tyria is woven, and I'm tied up in it somehow. So, I mean, that's because we are, and this is, like I've spoken about this before. Like, I hate how significant we make the commander in the Guild Wars 2 story. It's way, way, way over the top. It's like Dovahkiin stupid, and completely unnecessary. It's the eternal alchemy. Everyone should be tied up in it. Like, that, by the nature of what it is. Yes, I am tied up in it. So is Rock, so is Bram, so is Timmy, so is Casimir. So is, where's Frostbite running around here somewhere? Like, Frostbite is tied up in it. Vast energies flow through and around Tyria, and I saw a dragon. It was part of the workings of the world. So it's going to take us a long time to understand that better, but they do bring resolution to that. We do get clarity to the Elder Dragons being part of the workings of the world. And then it came at me. Also saw the pale tree at the heart of a vast moving puzzle, as Scarlet did. We have, in my opinion, there's still like some ambiguity to this. Heart of Thorns will give us clarity on certain things, like very much so. But I think there's still some room for interpretation there. But we should talk to her. What can she do? She's a tree. Rocks. Rocks. Rocks.
I wish I'd seen it.
I'm glad you're okay, but you had magic flowing out of your ears.
Really? Out of my
It
ears?
wasn't so bad.
Her hair was standing straight up.
Well, it returned to my fabulous coif, like, pretty quickly. So,
Okay,
that's
guys,
good.
this is serious. We need to talk about what we're going to do. What's the plan?
What is the plan? We need to talk to the pale tree. I thought we just established that. Can you explain more about... So we're going to explain it again. Okay, it was hard to describe. Pale tree was in my vision, represented by the symbol we saw on the drawing back in Scarlet's room, as mentioned. We have to go talk to the pale tree. Maybe the pale tree can help us understand some of this. Do you think she can help you make sense of the vision? She may be our greatest ally. So, among the many things I was talking about earlier with the Norn spirits and the eternal alchemy and the human gods, for the Sylvari, it's the dream, right? And the dream must be tied in to the eternal alchemy because it has prophetic qualities and it has this kind of it ties together all Sylvari, and it ties Sylvari that have not yet entered this world consciously to Sylvari who are already here. We see that when Kaith literally, physically enters the dream to assist us during the Sylvari character tutorial. So, and we will, in the core personal story, the tree uses some, a capability of the dream to show us ore and stuff. So. Going to the tree is not a crazy thing at all. How should we make the world aware? I have to go. Goodbye. How is that an option? To blow off Casimir? We're not going to blow off Casimir. We need to let leaders know. Yes, we need all the races to work together against Mordremoth. So we did that before with the Pact, right? We got 3 orders to work together. Now we're going to go full bananas. We need to get all the races on board against Mordremoth. Between the endangered waypoints, the corrupted Mordrum, the vines, spreading as far as the Shiver Peaks. This should be something that all the races care about. First, we need to talk to Pale Tree. Okay, yeah, so, Casimir, let it go. Clearly, we continue to say we need to go talk to Pale Tree. You know we'd follow you anywhere. I'll send a request for an audience to the Grove. But before I meet you there, I want to stop by the Reach to check on Jory. Okay, we'll meet you in the Grove when the Pale Tree is available. Yes, Casimir's very upset about what Marjorie has experienced. Must have been heart-wrenching. She'll grieve after the funeral, and her duty are complete. I don't know. I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to go down that road. None of us are safe. Yeah, let's do things. All right. Yes, send me mail, Casimir. So that's the end of Entanglement, right? So the end of Chapter 2, Season 2. So when Casimir said, I will mail you once we've made the arrangements. Um, that would be the mail that would kick off then the next the next part of season 2. So let's go ahead with that in mind. For video purposes, let's go ahead and take a break here. So we've we've looked through Omadd's machine just as Scarlet looked through Omadd's machine. And we have seen the Eternal Alchemy, and this has only reinforced the threat, or the fact that Mordremoth is like the imminent threat, and we must address it. And so we're going to try and get the leaders of the world together on this. That is our next task. Now, leading up to this, when we got to Fort Salma, unfortunately, we helped defend Fort Salma, but Belinda Delacroix was killed. So Marjorie is dealing with that, and we are dealing with the fact that we just had our head like dunked into a vat of crazy and saw the Eternal Alchemy. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And then going forward, hopefully Casimir can help us like make some arrangements so that we can meet with the Pale Tree, and ultimately we're going to try and meet with various leaders of the world or earn their agreement to kind of collaborate against Mordremoth. So that's where we're at right now, and we will pick it up with the start of Chapter 3 of Season 2.